way on the touchscreen. Here we go.
Are you serious? This one's
So A, G, M is in Mary.
It doesn't.
4,
It says record.
M, P is in Paul, K. And then you'll hit.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
So,
Isn't there another button?
touchscreen. Come on, there's a touchscreen. In the library, I have all this technology. I'm the tech liaison for Harding, and I have no touchscreen. So I sometimes forget it's all possible. All right. And no. We'll leave that up. So the overview, I'm going to teach you some tricks and useful information to know about learning.com. The things that we'll be covering are the modules, prescriptive keyboarding, pre-tests, using learning.com with all of your students, tips for K and first, some stuff about gradebook and certificates, and a question and answer at the end. So let's talk modules. So modules are the little lessons that your kids do. So they're cartoony. They're even more cartoony when you see the ones that are K and first. The other ones, and like I said, and I don't know, my 5th graders don't mind. I don't know about 6th grade, 7th, and 8th if they think those are it's too dumb or too low for them. Because you know sometimes kids have nothing but scorn. Oh, that's a little kid. It's cartoony. That's beneath me. So, but I don't know. I know my 5th graders don't have a mind with it. These modules are in learning.com, also under Easy Tech, or they're called Easy Tech. So if you're looking in learning.com and you don't find the modules, you're not seeing modules anyplace, also remember they're called Easy Tech. Because since it's in a cartoon format, it is an easy way to learn technology. That helps you. Hammond has bought into learning.com. And learning.com created a custom curriculum for us. So their experts went through and picked modules that they deemed were appropriate for K, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so they've put them all together and they kind of dumped them into this thing. And when you see them in the listing, you'll notice there's different types of them. And they're in this lovely list with these kind of obscure titles and these codes, and it's kind of hard to tell what they're talking about. But it is kind of important. D are for discussion. The kids actually will see them in their list of things they're to do, and they have nothing to do because it's supposed to be a classroom discussion. G is a game, and there's very few that have been assigned. They're in there, but there's not that many of them. J are journal entries. The kids would make some kind of journal entry and reflect on their learning. L are the lessons, and this is the majority of what the kids are going to see, are L's for lesson. Q, any guesses in education what possibly Q can stand for? Quiz. There are quizzes built in. I haven't used a lot of them. They are there that you can use because there's additional things to what's in the custom curriculum. The custom curriculum is kind of default. If you're not sure what to do, here's some things that we give you, but there is more. There's hundreds of things in there that is not part of custom curriculum that you could also assign. And you can actually change the order. Because I said they assign stuff in custom curriculum. The people that were deemed from each building, the representatives that set up the classes, because somebody has to go in and set up assignments. You can actually assign things. So most of you are classroom teachers. You are not media specialists or that person that got sent to the training. If you wanted, you could go in and assign things to the kids in addition. You could dump them in custom curriculum, which is the default that someone in your building set up for you. But you could also create a separate class. And there's maybe some reasons I'll go into a little bit about why you would want to do that. Because say you're going to work on a unit of math and you want to do spreadsheets, there's very little spreadsheet stuff in this custom curriculum. So you go through and you pick these lessons that you think would best teach your kids about spreadsheets, and you could put them and have the kids work on that. So you have them do the setup, that they have the skills, especially if you're working on Chromebooks, and that you know they need to be able to do this and your kids don't. This is a quick way to get them to do it. And so again, you can change their order. Alright, module 2. So, I was the person for my building that set these lessons up. And let's actually, let me log in so you can see what it actually looks like. So, in your building, you have the kids go to learning.com. This is the page that's going to come up. And we want to log in. And you have 2 options to log in. Why? Oh, still thinking about it. You can do this way. And the username for everybody is your email address. Your password is going to be Hammond with a capital H. Hammond with a capital H. The district is school, city, and you'll notice I just typed in school and it now has some suggestions for me. It's school, city of Hammond. And so, before I'm going to click that, you'll notice there's also Clever. So Clever is what the wonderful technology people have set up, that there's another way to log in, and that's that portals. I don't know if you've seen that, is that, hold on, you're doing that. So, the other way to get to learning.com is to go in through portals, and you'll notice, so I'm just at that landing page that comes up when you go to, you open the internet, and portals, the first one is learning.com, and this is what the technology people have been calling the Apple page, and the nice thing about the Apple page is you put in your email address, and this is the same password that you would use to get into email. So if you don't remember Hammond and you don't remember School City of Hammond, you can also come through portals and do the same thing that you would log in to your computer or to your email. And you'll notice down here it says student. Students would do the same thing. They would use their GAP account, that thing that looks like an email, and then their birth date is their password. And that will also get them into learning.com. So if you do this one, there's one more step. Because the kids will, I only have this one option, the kids will see several options. So you just have to remind them that for when the kids log in this way, they will also see Study Island and Benchmark Universe. So this is actually an easy way if you want to be using, I'm going to be trying this year, I like her ideals of there's 8 tools that you need to use. And so like I said, if Benchmark Universe and Study Island and Learning.com are going to be your tools for this coming school year, all 3 of them would be accessible through portals. But I'm already in. What I see is different than what you're going to see. I am the coordinator for Harding Elementary. And so I can actually pretend to be a teacher. So I'm going to randomly, let's see. I have a 4th grade teacher in here, so I'm going to randomly pretend to be a 4th grade teacher. So this is not the way you're going to see it, but again, I'm a coordinator. So I go in this way. I am now pretending to be Kimberly Thunhurst, and she's a 4th grade teacher at Harding. As coordinator, I have the rights and privileges to do that, but when you go in, you would just see this all the time. You wouldn't see that other page where we landed at. But again, I'm special. So, learning.com, there's information that comes up. It's their bulletin board, greeting board. So, you know, if you were interested in these things, middle school internet, we had a couple of middle school people, click there and it would give you more information about what they have available for middle school. But luckily for me, they still have stuff left up from last year. So I clicked on classes, and you'll notice it has all, this is what elementary school teachers see. For a middle school teacher, probably you're just going to see reading, 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 because that's what you teach all day. This is the information that was an STI that got dumped into learning.com. And you'll notice under homeroom, that's where we put the curriculum, was under homeroom. So these things are what learning.com deemed were important for fourth graders. And so, and this is not actually the order they came into, because I didn't like the order that they came into, and I rearranged them. But you'll notice it says desktop, homeroom, up row, lower row, shift key. I said, you know, there's kind of these cryptic names. This stuff's all actually keyboarding stuff. So the kids would have to do all this keyboarding stuff before they get into windows and controls and toolbars. Those are just general how you use computers. Software, basically how you launch software, how you close software. And then remember how I said some of there are these strange letters that are these codes? Hello. So D is actually a discussion. The kids aren't going to have anything to do. It's supposed to be something you do as a classroom discussion. So you can do this texting safety discussion or open communication, which is one of those internet safety good citizenship things. Sending email messages, responding to email messages, cyberbullying for grades 3 through 5. Remember I said G are games. So there is a game about proofreading and correcting. And J is a journal entry. How would you feel? And actually, if you want to check out what any of these things are, there's a secret. So creating and organizing content, actually the proofreading, how is this game? I'm interested in this game. So if I double click on it, this information pops up. So proofreading and correcting 1. In this lesson, the student practices proofreading skills while using a word processor. It contains 4 focused exercises practicing spelling with a spell checker, punctuation, capitalization, and homonyms. The students expected to find errors and correct them in a word processing environment. It's meant for grades 3 through 4. It doesn't mean an advanced second grader couldn't use it, or that maybe your 5th grade class has never seen this, you can still use it with a 5th grader. So that's who they meant, but it's usable other ways. Keywords that it's going to cover or talk about, proofreading, punctuation, those things. Primary objectives, secondary. You can actually put your notes. This was horrible, note to self, next year take it out, never use it. It was great. I need to do this in November because we do a big writing unit in November, but you can make comments to yourself. Your notes are confidential. These are they'll only be visible for you, they're for your use. But there's also some other things, which is view. If I click on view, I can try it. So any of the modules that are in here, if you're one of those people, you want to see what it is before you have your kids do it, going in through this way, you can view it and you can try it out. Maybe you're really not sure how to do a chart. You could actually do the chart things. You could actually do these things yourself before you did them with your kids. All right, so we could start it.
I left my phone on email.
Uh-oh. And let's see, let's go over here. Let's see if we can get our little person. All right, I'm not sure how to play the game. This one I had never done. I thought it was cool, but I had not tried it. All right, so let's see if we back out of it. Maybe, oh, close this window. So you notice their modules pop up in a separate window. So if I don't want to do it, I can close it there. All right, so I did say you can move the order of these modules, and in the custom curriculum, when the person in your building set these up, the assignment sequence was forced. The kids have to roll through that list in the exact order that you see. So the kids don't have the option to pick and choose among these things. They have to do this one first, and when they complete that, they roll over to the next one. And when they complete that, they roll to the next one. And they basically have everything you've already done, you could go back and redo, but you can't move on until you complete it. And they have to have 70%, they're actually asked questions within the module, and they have to have 70% accuracy until they're allowed to go on to the next one. So it is kind of like those games where you unlock levels. So you can't unlock the next level until you get 70% success at the current level. So, but they have to be in a certain order. So maybe you don't want to cover email, that things can be moved. And as you set up your class, you have these two options. Do you want to force them to go through that order very specifically? Or do you want it to be open that kids can choose? They can pick and choose what they want to do. So if you get into this, you can actually edit this list. I got the wrong way. I want to edit. So I'm going to use the mouse because my fingers don't like me. So you can edit this list and you can move things to change that order. Because maybe Windows and controls is how to close and open, how to use scroll bars, how to, a lot of the basic just computer skills we want our kids to have. So maybe that's actually more important than before we get to keyboarding. Toolbars and menus, maybe again, I want that all the way up at the top. And maybe these, and actually these discussions, I could take them out. That we're, whoops, didn't want to do that. That we're not even going to do those. And when you're done moving or changing things, you click done. Because again, if you are having the student forced in a certain list, you want to be careful what order you're presenting things to them. So again, why would you change the order? Is because you want the most important things at top. You maybe want to put the least important things at the bottom. Because how much time are you going to spend on this? The curriculum that was assigned by your building coordinator, she tried one of the games. There was also a volume control at the bottom, so you can turn the sound off. So we assigned, there's first semester, second semester. I assigned the first semester stuff when we got the training back in September. We maybe started really using it in October. Some classes did finish all this stuff, but not everybody finished everything. I don't know if you noticed, I'm gonna go back. This is also the grade book for this 4th grade class. And you'll notice, I just changed the order, so it also changed the grade book. But you notice how there's gaps, not everybody got to everything. So, I mean, they did a lot of things, but not everybody got to everything. Because part of it is, too, they have to get that 70% accuracy before they can move on. So it does take some kids a couple tries before they'll be able to move on. So, but maybe you don't want to mess with that stuff. You're building, whoever was your technology person set all that stuff up, you don't want to mess with it. But I would recommend, if you want your kids to have keyboarding skills, that you have them go onto learning.com, and if your building person did not set up prescriptive keyboarding, that you could set it up, you could add it. Prescriptive keyboarding does just that. It prescribes the kids' lessons based on a pretest. And it's got to be separate. It can't be in that list because they never get to it. But it can be pulled over. I wouldn't recommend it for 3rd grade. I know learning.com said that it's perfectly fine, and some other buildings were using it. I didn't like it for 3rd grade. It seemed very much like the typing classes I had in high school. It's not, it was kind of dry. But I think it's perfectly suitable for 4th and 5th graders. And it's a little more game-based. So when you go in, you will see this screen. And these, actually I saw this quite some time before I realized they're not well, they are hot air balloons, but do you notice they're kind of oblong? And do you notice the gondola dangling from them is, I don't know why they chose this, but it's a carton of eggs, and these are all eggs. I find this very strange. I don't know why they picked this. These eggs floating around the sky are those same modules that were in the custom curriculum. So when I started off, I did not realize this. And I said, oh, you know, they told us how wonderful this was, and so I was having kids do this, and they were like, we did these already. Why are you having us do these again? But again, I don't know how things are working in your building. Are the kids doing this while they're in the library? Are you having to take your kids into the computer lab? You know, I don't know. So if you want to just like skip what's going on in the other lab, or they're not getting any other keyboarding other than what you're going to give them, this would be basic computer keyboarding skills. But it gets better. So if you, go back here, down here at the bottom, there are these two like screens. Have the kids click on practices down here in the corner. I don't like you. When you click on practices, it brings up this screen. And when I was setting this up, I was pretending to be actually another 4th grade teacher, Donna Elliott. And so when you go in, you could actually do this just like the kids did. And you'll notice it says, play this first time out. So the first time out, you click on those red words, it's going to come up with a black screen, and it's going to be gibberish. It's going to be gobbledygook. It's like those typing exercises if you had typing back in high school where they have you type gibberish. And it includes, like, it's 4 letters, random letters, space, 4 letters, 5 letters, random space. And the kids, she's trying it. On your top of your keyboard, there's a volume off. Yeah. You're welcome. She can try it. She can try it. So they're black screens. They're gobbledygook, and how the kids do, it will assign them these small, short, little lessons to improve specific skills. So of the gobbledygook, the kids had problems. They couldn't type the semicolon. And so it'll actually give them a lessons where they're going to practice just semicolons or those keys. Like sometimes it'll give them middle row, sometimes it'll be upper row, middle row. They did really good with the letters, they did horrible with numbers. So it'll throw them, basically you've got to work on letters, the numbers. So over here down at the side, you'll notice every time the kids do one of these lessons, the statistics will change. You have accuracy. It basically checks how accurately are they typing. And so the kids are really excited. I got 100%. And I'm like, yes! You didn't make any mistakes whatsoever. WPM, words per minute. It's timing them all the time they do these exercises. And the kids start off, they're usually like 10. And I'm like, ooh, you got to double digits. You're no longer 8 words per minute. Yay! Average time, best streak. I've completed 0 exercises. She hasn't even done the first one, but the kids will get numbers. They've done 4 of them or 5 of them. I need to practice. And you'll notice down here right now it's blank because you haven't done the first time out. It doesn't know what to prescribe you. But the kids do, like I said, they're very short. For those kids who have attention spans of gnats, it's great because it is just very short. It is random letters, so language skills are not necessary. We have kids that didn't speak English that did really well because they're not having to spell English words, they're just having to do letters. So even our not really unfluent people didn't have any problems with this because keyboard skills are keyboard skills. I don't know if you noticed, all of the stuff is also said to the kids. So it's not, so as like Miko, when that girl comes out, she introduces herself and tells what you're going to be doing. So like I said, everything, all the modules and everything have oral support. That they see the text on the screen, but it's always read to them also. So Harding has 40, we're like 40% Hispanic, and we have over 100 bilingual kids. And they did well at this, even as well as our other kids did. So down in the bottom corner, there was I'm getting ahead of myself, I forgot what I did. So there's this library button. So you can actually go in and practice specific things, and there's these exercises that actually practice certain letters. We had one class of 4th grade that actually the teacher would grab a computer and she would issue a story challenge. So she'd have all the kids in the room do the same story challenge, and it actually brings up English text that they have to copy, and they're checked for speed and accuracy, and she would try to beat the kids, or the kids would try to beat her. So the kids actually thought that was really fun. And they were all across the room going, I did it in X amount of time, I was 99% accurate, and so it is like a typing challenge, the story challenges. There's also something else here. So remember I said you've got this project coming up. You've been wanting to do a slideshow presentation with the kids. You want to do a big word processing document. You want to do something in sheets that you want to do a spreadsheet thing with them. You can actually come to pre-tests. And it got really grainy when I put this here. But these pre-tests are like the prescriptive keyboarding. And so what it does is it gives them 12 to 15 questions. And they're multiple choice, and this is one of the questions, actual questions from the computer. Choose the bookmark icon. So when I did it, I chose the star. I should have maybe picked that it wasn't, that give you a little, and you'll notice down here at the bottom, there's a dot for every question in this pretest. And again, there's a little speaker icon here. I don't know if it automatically reads the questions or if they have to click on the speaker, but again, if you have somebody who's special ed or has language difficulties, they click on the speaker and it will be read to them, so they too can do this. The questions are multiple choice or true false, and a lot of them are like this where they have images. The different quizzes have different amounts. The one I saw had 8 or 9 questions, this one had 12, and I think the one I saw had 15. When the kids finish, they click on the check button. And again, I did this pretending to be Donna Elliott. And so she works in my building, she has to check button. So you can go through, and I clicked on the check, all waiting to see, because I deliberately made mistakes so I could show you, and it wouldn't check it for me. So you'd have to research whether you're right or wrong. But the kids, when they click on the check button, they get immediate feedback. If the buttons are green, they got it correct, and if they're red, wah, 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 they got it wrong.
What kind of questions were there?
What kind of questions? It depends on the pre-test that you picked. And I'll go back in a moment. But they can click on the question and go back and look and maybe talk about, I don't think it necessarily gives them the answer, but they can see, maybe think about what it was. So it is great that they get that immediate feedback. What kind of quizzes are available? Kind of in the spring right before testing season started, kind of as a warm-up for testing season. There is computer fundamentals, which wasn't that easy. We didn't have any 4th graders get a perfect score on it, and of my building, only 2 of my 5th graders, and we have 100 5th graders, only 2 kids got perfect scores on the computer fundamentals. My 4th graders, I think actually the best that they got was they only missed 2. So it was hard, it was tough. Because some of the questions used a vocabulary that I don't know necessarily talk about. There's a word processing, charts and graphs, and research, which is basically using the internet and safety stuff. When the kids finished that, remember I said nobody, there were very few kids in 4th and 5th that got everything correct. They then were assigned modules to remediate whatever they missed. Remediation. So they can take the pre-test. And, maybe they got it. Like I said, even with this fundamentals, they didn't necessarily know, copy copy and paste. Actually, that was one of the questions that tripped them up, was copy and paste, and it was the symbols, the short, well, it wasn't the key, a lot of the kids knew the keyboarding shortcuts. It was what were the little pictures at the top of the screen, which one was copy and paste, and they just weren't used to doing it that way. So, like again, if you're doing this big unit, you could do a pre-test, and then we basically have basic skills before you did this big project or whatever you're going to do. So, pre-test. Again, you can, I don't know the relationship you have between you and your media specialist or whoever was the learning.com person in your building. They could set these things up for you, but you don't have that relationship where that person is cranky. You can also do that yourself. You don't have to go through that person. So again, I know Mr. Salinas is here. So all students can use these. We had special ed kids. Jonathan House was so thrilled when he passed one of his things. Whoops, J&H, sorry. He turned to me, he was got stuck on one, and he couldn't get to it, and so when he finally, I think the third or fourth time he got to it, he was thrilled. And he got,
He liked computers a lot.
yeah. And then, you know what, but once he did that, he took off and was just like cranking through them.
I knew all I ever had my kids finish was the keyboard and skills. I didn't know that all this other stuff was.
There was all this other stuff. So again, they have to repeat the module until they complete it, but they have these options, and you know they can do it as many times as they want. So getting into it, do your kids know those Google accounts? Do they know those long gap account things? So 2nd through 5th grade, I had the kids typing it. I had the login cards, they put it right in front of the computer, they typed it in themselves. Again, it is easier if you go in through portals. They're not having to do any other, that school city payment trips up some of the kids. If you are in a lab, have you used Land School? Land School, you can blast something to all of the computers. You could actually bring up the portal page, all of them. You can do certain things with Land School. So, kindergarten and first. Do I have anybody who is kindergarten and first? Oh, woohoo! Okay, okay. So, I would definitely recommend using that portals page then to log in, because there's only 2 lines that they have to do. I had tried.
I wish I knew that sooner, because it was like chaotic. They were like, woo-hoo! But then I'd have like a 2nd grade kids come and help.
Helpers, having a kid help. Do you use Land School to blast things in the
No, I
lab?
wish I knew that too, I don't.
Okay.
See, we
That would
have
make your
the
life so much
Chrome
easier.
cards at school.
Right.
So we'd have the Chrome books. And
Right.
we would do that, but we would normally, so now this is a good thing that I know. Because it took, the first time we did it, it took like 15 minutes, but then it got quicker.
It gets quicker. Right. A couple of things of,
Yeah, so.
well, I was going to say, I know one of the things with kindergarten and first grade I did in the lab is that they had assigned computers, and I'd have the card and I logged them in and they just sat down. And it did take about 5 minutes. I'm a really fast typer. I would just kind of zoom around the room and log them in. They could just sit down. They'd be good to go. And as far as like me, like color coding the cards to keep which grade was which grade and whatnot. But I do, sometimes there's these things that aren't quite grade appropriate. We're having kids do stuff that's kind of what seems like way above them. The kindergartners loved, when I did get them into learning.com, it really was their speed. They really loved doing them. And the kindergartners, the custom curriculum, so introduction to keyboards, they just have to go and find the A on the keyboard, and they get little B's and little cool stuff. And after they do A, B, C, D, they then do F through, I forget what letter it is, and it does kind of, they introduce the keyboard, but maybe not typing, but more picking and choosing.
At my school was mostly the library media specialist. She did it, but then I'm looking into this. I can be adding stuff on top.
You can be adding stuff. I want to say when I went in, when you go in, I'll show you where the library is, and there are things that's just A, it's just B, that there's like
So
kind of phonics
So I
stuff.
wouldn't be messing with what they do in
No,
library
you can
class, then I could do something
You
else.
can do
with
separate,
it.
yes. Because, so you might want to just ask your librarian. She's probably setting stuff up in her homeroom, but you could go to language or math, and you can assign a curriculum. And so you could assign up your stuff that's separate from her. Laminate the login cards, so you just have to do them once. You can print the cards also.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
Are those logins gonna be the same for their whole career? Okay.
So when you go in, you can always print login cards. So, and when you click on it, it will download it to your computer as a PDF. And these are their Google accounts, which I'm giving away to all of you. And their password, and this is going to be the same to log into the Chromebooks and Google. This is everything. They're trying to get everything across the board to be the same. So if you print these and laminate them, you have for all that you're using the computers with.
Where can you just where do you go back to? You go to. Your
So
class?
I logged in.
Yeah.
Back to
I'm just asking how to get those cards.
Okay. So let's go back. When you log in, you saw this. My classes, homeroom, or any of these in bold. And you'll notice now it says print login cards.
Okay.
You can also print a roster, and it puts that, it has all their username and password on one sheet.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, gradebook, you can export the gradebook. Remember I said they have to have at least 70%. So, if I go back. So, if you'll notice the first time Mr. RH did this, he got 25%. So he did complete it, but he didn't get 70%, so he's in red. So next time he logs in, he's going to have to work on that again before he'll be able to advance. So, but you can also print this. I don't have anybody you can print. This is coordinator stuff. But I did certificates for my kids to kind of encourage them because I noticed they weren't very thrilled about doing the learning.com modules. So I did these little certificates of, I did 5, yay, you passed 5 of the modules. I did 10, and I had a couple people that passed all of them. So I forget, we did recognize them somehow, but I don't remember exactly what I did now. That's been a while. Because honestly, testing season happened, and then this all kind of went to the wayside. Because, testing trumps all. So, any questions?
I do, and it's probably a can of worms, but
Go for it.
have they talked about taking some of those scores and combining it into our, grade books of some kind?
Will it talk?
Okay.
I don't know. I was going to say, because, like I said, we don't actually technically have a computer class or a library class, so, that's not an STI. I don't know if it's even possible if that could talk with STI, that they could be moved. You definitely have the rights to go in and, look at things, and that you could pull grades from there. So, the top there, it tells you what assignment it is. This is a little easier to do it this way. What assignment it was, L's are lessons, and then you can see their scores. You can actually, this is kind of cool, if you click on it, it'll actually sort who got 100%, who didn't. If I click it again, it's low. So these people actually didn't do it. So you can actually, well, I really need to get on these 5 of why aren't they doing these. We were kind of exploring and learning about this. So I did talk to a couple teachers. They wanted to know if they could use them as grades. I don't think anything came out because that was yet another thing to do. and input and whatnot, so it didn't happen. But it is, like I said, depends. It's there, but right now there's no talking. Any other questions? So, say you do want to set something up. So I would leave homeroom alone because that's probably where your building coordinator is going to do things. But language, reading, math, any of these just come down. And so say if I click on language, I want to assign curriculum. And when I clicked on assign curriculum, you'll notice this came up. So say she's in kindergarten and she wants to assign something separate from what they're doing in the library. This is the stuff that they deemed was appropriate, and this semester 1 is probably what your building person is assigning. I know we never got to semester 2, but you'll notice there's also supplemental projects, which I don't know of anybody across the district that's doing. If we view those, this would be like the extras. There's actually a beginning sound for kindergarten. There's phonics, typing numbers. So that wasn't part of the, there's additional practice here. And you'll notice this is J's. So that means it's a journal, which probably means it's not necessarily a scripted lesson. It's just going to be like opportunity explore time. Is basically what I'm guessing they're going to be. But you don't have to use these. I can go to the library up here, and I'm going to come down, and remember I said another word for the modules is Easy Tech. So I now have, by grade, I can look at the modules, preparation for online assessments, primary grades, preparation for online assessments, intermediate grades, preparation for online assessments, middle grades, some specific stuff for those. Maybe it's all content. I don't want it by grade, I just want to look at everything. There's stuff specifically with keyboarding and word processing, online safety. Because maybe you're going to set up blogging and you want to do something about online safety before you set up those blogs. All right, book by grade. Do you want stuff that's going to help you? Do you want to look at grade? So, K stuff. And there we go. So, it helps to know L's are lessons. Alright, that's it. Okay, so they're all lessons and other stuff. Yes, the kindergartners get the little owl. The owl teaches them lessons. I forget what he actually, I think it's Oliver the owl teaches them lessons. So to assign it, you would just click on it and assign it, and then it would appear. So select, drag, and drop. So, and that's literally what it's, the kids practice. What does it mean to double click something? What does it mean to select it? And they practice selecting things. And the kids get all excited about it. And it's very classroom setting, it's school stuff. Hello. All right, you are in my classroom. If any questions come up, if you post them, I will also put my email address if you want to contact me directly. Any other questions about learning.com? Thank you.